So, here we are, right at the start.
Games are, first and foremost, a desired pastime, or whatever you want them to be. Enjoyment is always a core element. From Pac-Man to Pokemon, the structure and content may change, but the nucleus of them is all the same: fun. Evolution Studios have always kept this front and centre in their titles, and their latest is no exception. In fact, it may just be the most prevalent yet. ONRush is not a traditional racer, but that is no surprise for Evo Studios, as they have rarely followed the status quo. Now reformed within Codemasters become a second development team, they bring an incredible level of technical expertise, artistic flair and experience to the UK-based racing maestros. Just what is ONRush? Well, the fast answer is a hybrid of Motorstorm and Drive Club with lashings of Burnout and Project Gotham. Now, racing to the flag is not the aim, and never is in the full single player mode or the online races. Instead, you are racing in a team and need to work together to secure victory for them all. Mavericks can still thrive, but will have a much harder time in doing that. A variety of game modes exist that cover precision driving, king of the hill, ladder and free for all. If it all sounds a little bit like a shooter, then that is intended, but not the whole picture. You see, it does not fit neatly into one category. All the references to other games I've seen and made here though, the single closest it reminds me of in many ways is Speed Devils, a title which shipped at the European Dreamcast launch in '99. First on to performance, and I covered this in the beta and it was great then, and it is now. 60 FPS mode is pretty much locked on the Pro and the X versions, and the PS4 60 FPS mode does have some mild tearing, but generally holds within that 16 millisecond times enough to deliver a consistent upgrade over the base 30 FPS mode to never look back, even at the expense of a drop in resolution. Sadly, the Xbox One is the only version not to have a 60 FPS mode at present, but speaking to the team, they are still working on improving and optimising that version, so stay tuned around launch or just after to see if they manage to add that in. Overall performance is near perfect on the premium machines at 60 FPS, and it's good enough on the PS4 to not worry about. All 30 FPS modes are locked, so don't concern yourself if you want that extra resolution. Visually, the game is a stunner. ONRush is focused on internet play, and it's a very stylised title that is punk inspired and has esports aspirations for sure, from the in-game announcement style and sampled insults on takedowns designed to hit that cool, edgy vibe. If this launched in the 90s, it would have fitted right in with that irreverent tone, popular in games after Sonic's wake. Now, the team had to leave behind their own engine and tech developed in-house with 2 generations of Sony hardware, but the game shows that the talent all came along with them. Taking the in-house Ego engine, Evo have improved that in a variety of ways, and I'm sure was one of the biggest reasons Codemasters snapped up almost the entire team once Sony closed the doors. Having this talent and knowledge within a company devoted to racers makes a great deal of commercial sense. Every element of the engine improvements are based on simulation and fast, efficient iteration over baked solutions or long-leg prototyping. Having a multi-platform engine to start would have helped them achieve this considerably. This fast 2-year development cycle, which is very fast, even if you consider all these additions that they now bring on top of this notwithstanding. This wouldn't be possible if they had to build an engine from the ground up, but they have made significant improvements and enhancements to that. The Havoc plugin is again used for the physics modelling rather than Ego's own, a middleware solution that the team are pretty much used to and is used widely across the industry. Evo have used it on almost all previous racing titles. Photogrammetry for textures is used both to reduce workloads and improve consistency of object materials within the physically based lighting model. PBR helps materials in the game world react to light sources with a greater conviction that allows you to determine dirt from metal or wood from stone. Riders are all modelled inside the cars or on the bikes, and they follow the contours of the track as you slide, bounce and ramp through the air. Weight can be seen in movement, with momentum influencing turning speed and grip, and all vehicles have a procedural destruction system that deforms the chassis upon impact with other racers or objects in the game, crushing up, losing wheels and more. A variety of environments are used across the game's tracks, from coast-lapped coves to desert-based stations and construction sites. The PBR material system and dynamic time of day, along with the fully modelled seasons, ramp up the possible conditions you will experience them in. A sunny morning with a low sun and lapping water present a warm look, with sun rays breaking through the rocks, high specular reflectance from the water pool, strong bloom softening details into the distance, where an overcast midday look can be much flatter, something I covered back with my Drive Club reviews. Water and snow can build up on the tracks as rain or snow falls during the events. This leaves a full geometric body of snow to rip through and leave your tracks in, tessellating as you race through. Like all the other weather conditions, it not only looks incredible but can also affect the handling. The image is very clean, as it uses the increasingly common TAA solution to improve that further, temporal anti-aliasing. Now this also has a reconstruction element within, which you can see best as you change vehicles. You can see the first frame has a low quality and dithered look to it, but after 2 or 3 frames it now has a much cleaner and more stable image due to the accumulated information from previous frames. Now this is likely a jittered pattern per frame, which can affect the pixel count at time, which is 1080p for the 30 FPS mode on the PS4 and 60 FPS mode on the Pro. This drops to 1600 by 900 on the PS4 when you increase the rate to 60. Now the 30 FPS mode on the Pro delivers a much sharper 2880 by 1620 image. This is the best option to really admire the details in the game, but I recommend the 60 FPS mode on both machines as the best way to play. We should all be thankful that the team chose to give us the option ourselves, and the extra work to achieve 60 FPS only came during the later portions of development. A worthy optimization goal and a huge boost to the title. This reconstruction solution was likely benefit to these very aims. Screen space reflections are used on car bodywork and all reflective surfaces. You can see cars reflected in your bumper as you collide or cross the roof. Like Drive Club, it even reflects itself on any chrome or high specular surfaces, which always adds to the consistency of objects in the world. With a huge 24 vehicle count, 12 of which are human or AI controlled, and the other 12 are fodder for your boost gauge, an impressive and packed particle system for sparks, debris, weather and more, it looks incredible in motion and in still shots. My only gripe with the effect system is that the ONRush glow can actually make it hard to see the track at times, dependent on your view. Toning down the alpha glow around the car or the vignette would help, or pushing the camera out to a wider view with a fisheye distortion, which would both increase the view range and that feeling of speed, but again, it is a minor gripe.
Face ain't gonna look the same. Where'd your last chick?
Get ready.
Now, audio is good, the soundtrack is fitting of the style of game and in many ways follows the trend of Motorstorm. Mixing genres is good, from dubstep, synth-heavy tracks and some punk-style tunes. They work, but I found only a few standout ones. Sound effects are very good though, mixing very well in terms of how it blends sound from crashes going in and out of the zones and actually warping and merging the sound effects so you know you're in the zone audio-wise. Respawns also change, as does flying through the air, so the audio plays a part in knowing what you're doing and changing with your actions. But the music is the most dominant factor here. My main criticism is the lack of tracks that really have a catchy, inspiring tune, and the repetition of them more than anything else. Motorstorm and Drive Club at times do it better here, but that is my opinion. To be clear, it's far from bad, but as a long-standing Evo fan, I did expect more catchy tunes than what we got, but when they kick in, they certainly work. The collection of avatars are pretty generic, to be honest, and none really stand out above the others, but this is consistent with Evo's previous games. They're all helmets and goggles being shared across many of them. They serve a purpose, adding some individuality at the start, but luckily you can earn custom gear to individualise them as you go, from new clothes, celebrations and trinkets. This extends to your vehicles as you can change bodywork, paint schemes and your tombstone logo, which is left on track after you crash out. And even your gamer tag background goes all COD, with animated logos and many options to give your in-game hero or heroine that personal touch. As you race and earn points, this of course means prizes, or in the modern age, loot boxes, which are all purchased or won through in-game currency. No pay to win here, just look cool by earning the points. Now these are all cosmetic and do not affect your vehicle's handling. Maybe as I'm an older gamer, I find all this a bit bleh, but my son loves them and what they offer up, and I am well aware that this is not a bad thing at all. It's just not really to my tastes, but I can certainly tolerate it to play the game. And the game itself is a racer, but you'll never be marked on your time with others in the game, dependent on the race type you are in, of which there are 4 available at launch. You can see the descriptions on screen now. In the single player mode, you go through a career mode or superstar mode. Now this fully supports co-op play online with other players. You can join at the start or during a session, and you can work through various tracks and sessions, working your way up the rush rankings as you go. Think of this just like the Motorstorm ticket event, with each event changing the conditions and difficulty. When you go online and can't find enough players, it's filled with AI, as is your teammates. If you play offline, everyone is AI, and they do a valid job of taking you out, battling with you, but human opponents are always best on both sides of the team and add a great deal to the game's enjoyment. You can also create custom games which allow you to choose the track, season, game type, time of day, passing of time, and these can be online also, making private matches a possibility. It also has daily challenges that open up for you to earn rewards, exclusive extras or loot boxes, and later added ranked seasons to raise the competition levels. Of the game's modes, I prefer the Switch and Lockdown the most, as they serve a direct purpose in battles, with Switch having you balance out the risk of taking down or losing a life. 3 strikes and you're out. The chaotic action takes much more meaning here, as you cannot just go wild, crashing into everything to win. Lockdown is the same, with careful driving to stay in the zone, support your team and avoid being taken out. For the most basic race mode, then Countdown is the closest thing, with the aim on simply hitting the gates first and earning boost points as you chain them together. The classes of the game add to this camaraderie and they balance each other out. The Blade is by far the best bike, as its special weapon drops a wake behind you that takes all out that cross it. And you use this in games like Lockdown as you weave in front of the team, getting in front of them and taking the whole lot out and then grabbing the zone. Others add boost to your teammates if close enough, or others drain it from your enemies, dropping walls to damage others or boost packs behind you. This yin and yang between the classes and skills makes it the best mix to team up with other players on different styles to make the team stronger as a whole. Think of the medic, assault, etc. classes in Battlefield. See? That FPS influence again. Now this adds a good deal of tactical thinking into the gameplay and makes each race as much about quick thinking as sharp reactions. The battles play out like this, with incredible visuals, smooth 60Hz gameplay, excellent physics and huge ramps designed to get you airborne as much as possible. Slamming down with a boost at the right time creates a ground surge that will crush enemies close enough, as will simply landing on them. Now ramming them from behind with a boost or in rush mode will take them down, bumping into walls or pushing them off of bridges. It's all a risk and reward element, and it's fun and addictive. The single player adds one element I wanted when I covered the beta, a slow motion zoom in and pan, as you can see the destruction of the skill and the physics and deformable bodywork in action. Multiplayer cannot offer this aside your own takedown, of course, due to obvious reasons, but it's a great addition to single player and allows you to really admire what the engine is calculating every 16 milliseconds. Just echoing my comments from the beta coverage, I still would wish a kill cam slow-mo at the end for the best takedown, or even the game-winning one. Across the various types of vehicles and arcade controls, it's very fast response. It always feels fair, pretty much, and allows you to control speed in the air, which helps you pinpoint that destruction or avoid your own. It really is a fast pick up and play arcade style racer. It has that fast in and out style from an FPS and fighters, which are clear influences on the game. The incredibly fast loading times really help pick, click and into a game within seconds, which is a vital ingredient for this fast fun. One issue for me though that lets this down slightly is the respawn cooldown can take too long. You can get a slow motion replay of your demise which you can't skip, then you get a 5-second countdown and this can take a few seconds to start. For such a fast paced chaotic action title, leaving you out of the action for 10 seconds or so can be at times frustrating. Now some of this may be to hide reloading and resetting game logic, and it's hardly a showstopper, merely an improvement to the enjoyment level, as more time playing and less time at menus is always better. The lack of racing is of course a negative for me, as I've already said. They have gone for a very distinct theme here to separate them from the pack, which works by and large, as this can be as much fun as a good FPS session or fighter. That said, I do hope they add a race option into the mix of game types at a later date, as they have many plans to add to the game over time and take feedback from players. It would still allow the same variety in chaotic action as now, but widen the game's appeal to those that don't want to always feel like a winner, even if they had a terrible game themselves. None of this distracts from the content, as the game modes offer enough variety to have keen favourites. It is a shame many of the features of the engine are so often missed though, although I do feel this will be seen in future titles soon. Using the photo mode allows you to admire how impressive all of this is and offers up that Motorstorm feel that has been missing of late, with greatly improved physics and visuals. Sadly though, it never hits those heights for me, largely down to track design never being as good, varied and dynamic as that title. It has some good tracks, but they never seem to maximise the core mechanic or engine as much as they could. It comes close at times, and technically I think they could stand proud amongst all competition. A few issues though are enough to make this a fun game, but not a great one, such as the core speed of the game. It is fast, but you never feel fast enough. Even with boost and rush on, you can take far too long to catch up to other vehicles. Even the lockdown mode, you can take ages to draw close enough to enter the zone or strike a car. The stampede system, which keeps you in the action, is vital and excellent, occasionally taking too long to kick in notwithstanding. Crashes can still feel unfair at times, with the skipping when a crush looked obvious, or having your car destroyed mid slow motion as you've just performed your own takedown. The boost mechanic almost makes the accelerator redundant as well, with you boosting at times to ramp higher or just land that crush. Only occasionally do you take your finger off it and use the brake or handbrake to turn, but again, this is largely down to the track design not maximising enough with those hairpin turns or crisscross paths to require that. It has action by the bucket load and rarely looks anything but stylish, chaotic and screen swamping action at all times. To summarise, ONRush is something new and fresh in a very old genre, adding a new slant on the racer that mixes game types more accustomed to a first-person shooter and a style that is designed to look good on YouTube or a live stream, yet even more fun to play. I'm not a fan of the esports theme or announcers in the game, but I can see the appeal and the target they have gone for. The incredible engine improvements, core reliance on simulation and dynamic action is the standout feature. Each game feels exciting, looks incredible and encourages team play. My son is a big fan of the game and how cool the crashes look. The use of all the platforms to maximise it are also a welcome extra mile. The biggest letdown is it fails to capitalise on its full potential. Speed in the game, the variety of the game styles and bland track design at times cause the most disappointment. A greater amount of offline content would be welcome, but it's not bad. A lack of any dedicated racing mode will always deter many from picking this up at launch, but I do urge you to at least give it a try. With more modes, greater use of that dynamic weather and an old school racing mode, it could catapult this from an also ran to a favourite for me. I just hope the audience through launch is large enough to support the investment to allow this diamond to shine. Never a bad game and fits that pick up, play and put down style I often have now to a T. But after a few weeks or so, the hook of the crashes will have faded, and unless you have a team to play with online often enough, you are left with a technical showcase but little personal gain to urge you to return. And that is its biggest crying shame. If you like what I've done here, as I am completely independent and self-funded, then please help by hitting the like below, giving it a thumbs up, sharing where appropriate, and subscribing to the channel. And also follow me over on Twitter. If you really want to help, you can also drop any pounds or dollars you can afford to my Patreon link, which is on screen and below. You can read more on this game and others on my website as well, and be sure to check back to the channel and hit that little bell to be notified of my next content as it goes live. You take care, drive fast, crash hard, and always blame somebody else. I'll catch you on the next one.